Welcome back. Okay, let's continue. More of the same. Once again, I just want to repeat, this is kind of mechanical, not much learning, but I got to do it. So what can you do? Anyway, so where are we? We now have got we have the original nav bar, and then we have a nav bar that we created using Elm. So let's get rid of the original one. So I'm going to go into index, and let's see, here it is right here. So the original nav bar is here. So we're just going to get rid of that. And what's left is the div, which contains a nav bar, which was generated from our Elm code. So let's just refresh our page. Since it's just an HTML change, great. Now we've just got our Elm code. One thing I didn't do is confirm that this actually works, and it does. So we can close that. So let's continue on. Let's do the rest of the page. So the first thing I'm going to do, I think I'll just bring all of this back. So let's comment this back in. Right? Let's format the page too. Format document, just so the navigation is correct. And that'll let us actually squeeze things up a bit. So I'll just get rid of some blank lines here. I think this will make it a little easier to recreate this in Elm. Okay. That is indeed quite a bit, but we're now very practiced at doing this DOM thing. So let's make sure I didn't get anything wrong. I'm going to go over here, refresh. And that looks pretty good. It looks just like the original portfolio web page. So we're going to go over here. We're going to get rid of this now. So let's see. We've got all right, we can do this. We can collapse the whole thing and just cut that whole thing out and move it into our Elm web page. Once again, we're going to make a giant section that's just the commented out copy of the div, just so that we have something to copy from. So Control Control C, Control K, Control C, or Command K, Command C. That's the keys in Visual Studio Code for commenting out your region of code. Not that you care. Okay, so yeah, let's continue on. So we need to do this in Elm. Let's just confirm that we've everything still works. We do this, yes. So now we're back in our code, and we're going to start adding the rest of this. So one thing I'm noticing is I've created the nav, and now I've got to create this div inside. I actually need an outer div in order to hold those two things. So in the original HTML, that was no problem because we had a body and it had multiple nodes inside of it. I've got to wrap the whole thing in a div because I've got multiple children here. So let's do that. Let's go div. So div can have multiple children, and one of the children is the nav node. And the other child will be this container div. Let's format that. It's a little easier to read. Okay. Now, so that is this div. Haha, my mistake. I just wanted the class. There we go. And looking at this, everything's contained inside that div. So we're just going to do this, and now we're going to start adding things to this div. So we're going to add, let's see, it looks like div image, div h1i, etc., etc., etc. And there's kind of two ways we could go here. I could do all the siblings first. So I could do div h2. You know what? I think I like that. I'll do the top level siblings first, and then we'll dive in and we'll do the nested children. So I can see this div has got, inside of it, it's got a div, followed by a div, followed by h2, hr div. Okay, we can try that. So div, followed by a div, followed by h2, followed by hr, and that's followed by another div, and that div's got a whole bunch of children. So far so good. Oh, I forgot the things here. Good. So I've got our first level of children. The container has got those 5 divs inside of it. Let's start. Now I think I'll do it the other way. So here I did it sibling first. Now I'm going to go and just say, I'll just fill it out from top to bottom. So to do this, actually, I think I'll maybe do this first. I will bring those classes across, because that makes it easy to actually spot what corresponds to what. At least it works for me. And this one, HR's got nothing. It's got the class row. Nice. So our top level divs all have classes that kind of match up, and that actually makes it easy, because if I highlight this, I can see, oh, that corresponds to this. So that's pretty sweet. So inside this, we're going to put div image. That's pretty easy. So we have a div, and nested inside that div is an image. Okay, next node. This node's got a div h1i. Let's do that. Div, inside that's an h1, and a sibling of the h1 is an I. Next up, this guy here, no child nodes. I do see a text node. You know, I'm going to do the text node now just because. So this is an h2. I'll just say text portfolio. Having that there is just kind of an anchor. You know, it's easy for me to see that's where we are. Okay, inside here is where this is going to be a little more complicated. So you know what? I think we'll finish the top and then we'll go to the bottom. So let's circle back and fill in the rest of these items. So I'm going to say this div's got class call 5, and the image has got all of these classes. Well, it's got all of these attributes. It's got a source attribute followed by a class attribute. Easy peasy. Anything inside? Nope. Okay, moving along. Now we're down here. I got this. And inside that, we have this H1. Grab those attributes. Pretty easy. Inside this DOM element, we have a text node. So we'll add that in here. Oops, in quotes. Much better. And then we've got this text, which we'll be updating. You know what? I'm just going to leave it the way it is, because it'll be corrected once we get the actual data from the back end. So this is a text node. Oops. Because yes, it was not built using Django. It's built using the other technologies. Moving along. Looking pretty good, actually. I think we got the first part licked. In fact, I'm going to assume that that's all correct. I'm just going to delete that because we can always get it from the original file. And that just makes it a little easier to follow on the eyes. So now we need to fill in this div, right? So what do we got inside here? Well, once again, it looks like it's a div. We got 1, 2, 3 top level divs. So let's start with that. We'll say div, and div. When I say top level divs, they're siblings. They're siblings. Cool. And because of the highlighted, we can even see div. Okay, so inside each one of them is an anchor, an H3, and then a P. And inside the anchor is an image. Okay, that shouldn't be too hard to do. So let's do that. Let's say anchor and H3 and a paragraph. So far so good. Now inside the anchor is a child node, which is an image. So image sweet. In fact, we can copy this to these other two nodes. I think the classes are all going to be the same. So let's just fill out the classes. So the class is here. The class on the div is that. And I'm just going to copy that over to the other two divs. Right. And then the anchor tab has got, well, actually it's looking like these will have to be different. I'm just looking at it. There's not much the same. Maybe the class here, but that's about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm going to copy this inside here and inside here. So we got our general structure. So there's going to be an href, and that's on the anchor. So that's a class on the anchor. It's not a class, it's an href. Cool. And then for the image, we've got a bunch of properties. Well, no, we just got a few properties. Let's copy them. Nice. And I want to remind you, the goal here is like, for starters, it's going to be very hard coded. It's like, oh, it's got this text, is this href. Kind of the next step is going to be that we're going to be reading this information from the back end and dynamically filling it in. But that's not the first step, baby steps here. Let's continue on. We need our H3. This is the secret knock. And in fact, okay, this is a text node. So that's a text node here. Text. And then we have our paragraph. once again, text node. Okay. So now we're in here. Same thing. Let's grab this href, copy that to this anchor tab. Let's go grab the properties, grab the image fields, copy. The attributes, that's the word I was looking for. And a little comma here. H3. Oops. And that's a text. That goes in a text tag here. A text node. Okay. What's some text for this? Here's some text. How did I get this out here? Well, that matches up with that, so I think it's just a formatting thing. So I'll fix that in a second. Text. Looks good. And let's just run the auto format. So that's a little better. Okay. Last one. Almost at the end. Woohoo! I know it's silly, but I'm excited. Let's do this. I'm excited because actually now we're going to start getting into the fun stuff. Then we're going to do our image here. Do it backwards because I can. Okay. Let's grab that. That's the text node here. And finally, put a text node here. Okay, looking not horrible. Let's, now first of all, if I run this, of course, we're actually not going to see anything yet because I have to compile our Elm code. So let's run the compiler again. And now, wow, not bad, not bad. You know, we can see, I'm just looking at the corner down here as I hover over. Yep, that's what it's supposed to be. That's what it's supposed to be. So the hrefs are all there. The formatting looks nice. Looks the same. This is great. So I think we've got pretty good, yeah, we've done pretty good so far. So next we're going to start converting this to actually remove all the hard coding from our Elm, from this Elm code here. So join me in the next one. See you soon.